So when recruiters or hiring managers are looking at LinkedIn and they come to your profile, the first thing they're going to see, and what really will jump out to them, of course, is your photo. That's why that's so important. Maybe your banner image as well, that's behind the photo, because your eye is just naturally drawn to that type of picture, and certainly faces. The studies show that they're drawn to faces. So having that professional photo is important. And then they're going to look at your impactful headline statement, or we want an impactful headline statement. And your headline statement is that section right underneath your name there where you've got some information about you. And you can freely text whatever you want in there. And for LinkedIn, because this is a professional site, and particularly how you want to orientate this towards your job search, you want to really talk about who you are and what you do. And unless something changed on LinkedIn, you get about 120 characters to do that in. And the reason this impactful headline statement is so important is one of the first things, the very first thing somebody would read would be your headline statement, but it's also very important from keyword search. It's highlighted there for keyword search. So if I'm looking for UI UX designer, Christina here in this example is going to be found in or have a better chance of being found in search, because on those keywords, you can see how she's used some keywords in there. And we're going to go show some more examples of some better keywords you can use. Now, let's say you're changing jobs. Let's say she's a digital marketing manager and she wants to now become a graphic designer. Well, you can, use the words and use the things in your headline statement that more reflect what you want to become. Later in your profile, you can show the work history and the work experience you have, but you want to be more aspirational in that aspect, because again, they're searching by those keywords. And so if I'm searching for a graphic designer, I'm not going to get any help from Christina, just showing what her past jobs is, more so what she may want to do. And you don't need to say you're unemployed or looking for a job right here in that statement. You could have that, later on if you want, or you could, you could if you want, but it's something that I don't recommend, because it just stands out as far as, this person's unemployed. People tend to prefer to hire employed people versus unemployed. Not a big deal, but certainly for that income, for that, that headline statement, you want to just lead with your best, foot forward and just talk about who you are. Later, you can talk about that you're looking for jobs, and we'll talk about that, and we'll show you some examples of that. But right now, you're just talking about who are you? Who is this person? Who is this person all about? And maybe can they fit in for my position? And lastly, there's a part where you can put your location, and you want to put your location where you want to be, not necessarily where you live now, but where you want to be. And that's very important too, because again, from a search standpoint, I might be searching for people who are working or want to work in London, United Kingdom, and so living in the greater Seattle area won't help me find Christina as an example there. So put you where you want to be. They don't need to know where you live now. They'll find that out later through your resume and through your application and all that, but put where you want to be on your headline statement, if it happens to be different than where you live right now. Some examples of some really good, impactful headline statements. Remember, we're trying to orientate this towards describing who you are, but also really balancing that with search, right? And that these keywords are being searched. So here you can see this, the one on the top with Senior Digital Marketing Manager. That's a job title. You want to lead with a job title, like who you are, and then putting in some of those searchable terms, with, SaaS, product marketing, CRM, B2B, B2C, some of those terms that might be searchable terms. So if I'm looking for some of the customer relationship management software experience, CRM is the universal kind of acronym for that. Same thing, like here's an example with product manager, where it's like cloud computing, go to market, they've got startup experience, for example, might be, some things that aren't really keying in on. And then you can see, here's one on the last one, it says executive experience, strategic planning, program evaluation, cost analysis, on and on. And that one, I personally like that where you have the title, kind of who you are, because it just stands out with like a line separating and then some of those keywords, like that middle one I kind of like. But this one, it's okay to have a little sentence there too as well. But the key thing on that is, again, look at using keywords, board governance, budget management, cost analysis. You see how they put that in there as opposed to more of a generic job description or just some things about their personal life. That's for Facebook or Instagram. This is for your professional self. And then you can make this even better. So let's look about how we can take those good ones and make them even better. And here, I've got the sources there from Cultivate Culture had some really good examples of that. And this is how it gets better, by using keywords, but also working in a little bit of a sales pitch with real results. And I don't like to necessarily use the word sales pitch, but thinking about real measurable results, because we're going to really talk about that through the resume and CV parts. And when you're interviewing, showing that proof behind some measurable results. So putting in a nugget in there can be really impactful. So you can see in this example that we've got keywords that are like data science, healthcare, big data, readmission rates, even patients can be, really good keywords. But then we've thrown in there like how the person used big data to reduce hospital readmission rates by 17% across 2.5 million patients. So I found this person maybe through those keywords, and then when I look at their headline statement, I get this like, oh, look what they did. I want to look more further at their job history and some more about them. I want to read their summary statement. I want to learn more about them because their headline statement was so impactful. Like, oh, I wonder how they did that. We want people who could do that for us. We have a problem with readmission rates. So that's very impactful for, depending on the career you're looking for. You want to tailor it to you and your experience. Here's another one, again, using those keywords like marketing, SaaS or SaaS apps, growth, users, those kind of things. And you can even put in more keywords, but here they put in more, measurable results, where they grew, driving growth from 10,000 to 5,000 users in 8 months. Without spending a dime on ads. So that's their way of saying using free marketing, using content marketing. You could even, maybe shorten that up and say all with content marketing. If a person searching for you knows exactly what that is. And then you might have room for more keywords like digital marketing or things like that. But the important point to take away from this is to leverage these keywords, leverage who you are, like this person's a marketing manager and that's who they are, or who they might want to be, a digital marketing manager, whatever it might be. And they've worked in a statement that might, just a short little thing that gives a little bit more to be like, boy, I want to find out more about this person, to make that headline statement even more impactful. So look at it, if you have your LinkedIn profile now, look at your impact statement or your statement there at the top, and make sure it's there, that it's impactful, that it's an impactful statement. And look at it from your, from the employer standpoint. Look at it from their standpoint and think to yourself, would I be interested in this person? Even have, some of your friends or family look at it, or a coworker if it's appropriate. Doesn't, if you're, depends on your privacy around this. And ask them, like, what do you think of this? Is this interesting, or will this draw attention? Again, you're trying to make it, you're searching for a job at this point here. So you're trying to make it so you're trying to put your best foot forward where somebody would look at it and say, I want to learn more about that person because I really like their statement there at the top.